Debbie. And with that, I would like to bring up Bobby Dayer to introduce our speaker for today.
Thank you very much, Allison. Good morning, everybody. I'm just overwhelmed by that picture. And I know that you are going to be very pleased to hear Debbie talk and tell us about her trip to meet Barbara Bush. But before that, I want to tell you a little bit more about Debbie than you know. And that is, you may know this, that she and her husband, Bill, and her daughter is here also, and many of you know her too. So please say hi. Anyhow, they came 6 years ago. Can't believe it, right? And immediately started becoming an important part of our community. And the big thing is that Debbie does something that I can hardly tie a knot with a needle. And she's an expert on needlework, nationally known and recognized, and she's done it all her life. But lucky enough for us, she also is very interested in our community. And she volunteers, and she is the creator of that display case that you'll see near the mailbox that shows the work and the collections of other residents at Fox Run. So we get a sense of how talented our resident community is. And so she has been recognized for that as a Spotlight Volunteer of the Month, and you can see her picture and read more on the bulletin board. And in addition, she's serving on our Residents Council. So I'm not going to talk about her career, she'll tell you about it, and thank you, and please welcome Debbie.
Thank you, Bobby. You made me sound better than it really is. Okay, good morning, everyone. Whoops, I'm not used to this, so bear with me. Good morning. Through the years, needlework has been my inspiration, constant companion, and my salvation. I have made friendships that have lasted a lifetime, and we have had many adventures together. This tale starts with Dottie, Sherry, Karen, and me, who lived in Orchard Park and stitched together weekly, sharing ideas, materials, and lots of laughs. Even when several of the group moved away, how dare them? We remained steadfast friends across the miles, because of our ties that bind. Frequent trips to needlework seminars and an annual trek to Hilton Head together. This was our 34th year. In the spring of 1990, Karen, who now lived in Chicagoland, received a call from her friend Ellen. Ellen knew the sister of the director of the White House floral shop. Mrs. Bush decided that the 1991 Christmas theme would be a needlepoint Christmas. Karen was told that Mrs. Bush was looking for experienced needlepointers. She wanted no politics, no needlework guilds, except for her saintly stitchers, which was her church in Houston, a guild from her church in Houston. It was just selected friends. The Christmas tree theme was children's toys, and it was to be kept an absolute secret. National security. We were chosen to make ornaments for the tree. We were all thrilled, you can imagine. In 1990, I received an envelope with the return address, the White House, which really blew me out of the water. No street, no city, no zip, just the White House. It was pretty impressive and very exciting. The envelope contained the pattern for the toy I was to make, along with the instructions on what shape and size to make it and to mail it back to the White House in August 1991. There were no stitching instructions. We could do whatever we wanted. I was given a coloring book drawing of a lion. Daddy had a gerbil, and Sherry had a reindeer, and Karen had a stocking. I had my lion design hand-painted on a canvas by an artist through a shop in Chicago. The design was double-sided, so it could be 3D. I used pattern wool yarn with a variety of textured stitches, turkey tufting for the mane, slanted gobelin, etc. I added holly to his tail to make it more festive. Excuse me. In November, we received another piece of mail from the White House, a save the date card. Sorry. We received another piece of mail from the White House, a save the date card from the social secretary for a Christmas party at the White House on December 9th. I had to pinch myself. Is this real? I later received an invitation from Barbara Bush to send my response to her social secretary, also for a background check. And we were all curious, were we going to pass that? One friend in particular we were worried about. Of course, what did we wear? The phone lines between us were buzzing. The days seemed to pass all too slowly, but we were finally all flying to our nation's capital. Me and Dottie from Buffalo, Sherry from Pittsburgh, and Karen from Chicago. We spent 4 days touring Washington and dying with anticipation of our big day. One of our big discussions was, how should we address the First Lady? Mrs. Bush, Barbara. December 9th finally arrived. I've been awake since 4:30 a.m. on a beautiful sunny morning. We were all dressed in our Sunday best and hopped in a limo we had rented. After all, you can't take a tabby kid to the White House. When we arrived, we had to present our photo ID and the credentials we received in the mail. It was so exciting to know that we were going to see the White House in all of its Christmas glory before the rest of the world. They weren't allowed in until December 10th. The magnificence and beauty of the decorations was overwhelming, all accomplished by volunteers, needlepointers, volunteer florists who hung the decorations. We were free to tour all the rooms and stopped many times along the way to take advantage of photo ops, but the real rush was the blue room. Suddenly we were there. We helped create a breathtaking Christmas tree. It stood 18.5 feet tall and was adorned with 1,370 handmade needlepoint toy ornaments. The ornaments covered the entire tree. Mrs. Bush had stitched Raggedy Ann and Andy, and of course, Millie, their dog. It took us a while to find our ornaments, not easy considering the size of the tree and the mass of people crowded into the room. It was so rewarding to finally see the fruits of our labor. There were village settings on the side tables. These were all needlepoint. The saintly stitchers created a beautiful creche with 80 needlepoint figures. Noah's Ark adorned another table. It was an array of 44 pairs of hand-stitched animals and figures. This had been a gift to Barbara while in Houston, so she could keep it after they left the White House. Unbeknownst to me, any gift received while in office cannot be kept by the President and the First Lady. They become the property of the government. We kept wandering through the rooms, each one beautifully decorated with handmade wreaths, more villages and trees. Sherry made me sit down on one of the couches to take my picture. She said, invited guests get to sit, tourists can't. Each time we passed the main needlepoint trees, we discovered more to admire. We were in awe. Mrs. Bush received each one of us in the Red Room. There were guards posted at the entrance and exit. A photo was taken with Mrs. Bush greeting each one of us individually. I presented the First Lady with a hand-stitched Christmas tree ornament decorated with pearls. Barbara always wore pearls. We were then asked to proceed to the state dining room for refreshments. There was a massive buffet table in the center, which was laid with beautiful finger foods. The waiters wore tuxedos and white gloves. At the end of the room was the gingerbread house, which stood 36 inches tall, 24 inches wide, and 16 inches deep. It weighed 45 pounds and was built in an old world style. Of course, Millie stood below it. Barbara spoke briefly to the 450 gathered stitchers, expressing her gratitude and delight with the beautiful tree. She related stories about the decorations and ornaments. She said the volunteer decorators had a snowball fight with the leftover snow, which was an ivory snow recipe, after they were finished. Excuse me. She told us that She told us that she and George had returned from Pearl Harbor at 2 a.m. the night before. George made her promise not to bother the Secret Service to take her to see the tree. He knew how anxious she was to see her vision accomplished. Fortunately, a Secret Service agent offered, and she was able to sneak a peek. Mrs. Bush was a genuine lady with the warmth you might expect from her. She was truly grateful to all who had made her dream come true. Her parting words to us were, "Pray for George Bush." President Obama later said that the White House was the people's house, and it certainly felt that way when we were there. We all hated to leave the grounds, but since it was a nice sunny day, we decided to walk to the Washington Cathedral. We toured the cathedral and attended Evensong, performed by the boys' choir. What a day. We were later told that the ornaments would tour museums across our country and eventually would be housed in the Smithsonian. I realized I had created a piece of history. I was both fortunate and honored to have participated. I have met so many wonderful people and have had so many incredible experiences in my life because I am a stitcher. But this was certainly the best. So thank you for listening, and thank you to our favorite daughter, who has done all the techie for me. And I wish you all a merry and a blessed holiday season. Does anyone, I brought the ornament, my version, if you want to see it. Does anyone have any questions? No? That means I talk too much.
Thank you so much, Debbie, and happy Friday, everyone, and go Bills.
Hey.